So I heard from someone, and this really upset me to no end. He actually said that we have no papers. And he said that if anyone asks me to prove who I am, I can't.
You can't.
I can't even prove that my name is my name.
Yeah.
I can't prove the date of my birth. I can't prove who are my parents. So this is absolutely absurd.
Let me give you more bad news in that case. In Thai-Burma border, there are nearly 100,000 Burmese Muslims. They are not Rohingya. Now they become stateless.
Wow.
They have no papers. They went to Thailand during the civil war, so they exist with the family, they work there. And in 2018, the Thai government, it's good intention, what they did was they want to legalize everyone. So they asked the neighboring countries to set up the temporary immigration offices to issue them border pass. So when they get the border pass, they will get the official residence permit from the Thai authorities. So when any Muslim approached to the Burmese immigrations, they said there isn't Burmese Muslim exists in Burma.
Wow.
We don't have you.
Wow.
Even though the person is speaking in Burmese, giving everything in details, said no. So that is
the worrying thing, because I know a little bit about rendering someone stateless. I mean, even the British government, when it wanted to pass a bill regarding withdrawing British citizens' nationality, one of the conditions were that they couldn't be deemed stateless. So they had to have some other citizenship so that they're not stateless, because being stateless means, and this is horrible.
It's terrible.
It's not just about not being able to conduct your normal life, to go on about buying a house, for instance, or doing anything, but it means that if you are killed, you are not recognized.
Yeah.
And therefore, if 1.5 million Rohingya people do not have documents proving that they even exist, wiping them out would absolutely have very little consequence.
Let me come back to you. It's a very interesting thing how they did in Rohingya state. Before I complete what's happening in the Thai-Burma border, so the military, the Thai government issue law, pass a law that if any illegal will arrested, will jail for 2 years, and they cannot come back for the 5 years, so they will be deported. So we published a report and approach to Thai governments through some Thai legal firms and organizations because we explained that what's going on with the Muslim community is not fair. So if they will be jailed for 2 years for no reason, for not their fault. So Thai government has changed the law, didn't change the law, but give the order that if any Burmese Muslim arrested, don't jail them, send them back to Burma. So when they send them back to Burma, the Burmese immigration give them two options. You want to end up in the jail or go back where you come from? Of course, they will go back. And they go back illegally again to Thailand. So in the border, they cannot go anywhere. They have no existence. Their children have no education. They have no any healthcare. They have no any jobs. And what happened? These people has been exploited by the criminal gangs. And some children has been kidnapped. We don't know what's going on with them. So these are the situation with them. And the Rohingya state, what they've done, every year, January, from 1994, I think, they started this project. They visit every household and they asked them to stand up and they took the picture, family picture. They even record how many dogs and how many cows, how many goats, how many chicken, how many things this family belongs. Everything they record. This will update every year. Until 2017, they did this. So there is no argument they can give that they don't know who they are. They know very well who they are. Right? So Burmese government or maybe any government authorities cannot deny any Rohingya didn't exist because they don't have any citizenship card. No. They did all check and record every year. So that means...
So they have the data.
They have data completely, everything. They are very good at storing data.
I take it that the Rohingya have fought back, that they have resisted this, that they have tried to uprise, they have tried to oppose the kind of conditions that they suffer. What can you tell us about this? Because you see, this is what I find lacking in at least my record of information regarding the Rohingya. I know that they are refugees. I know that there are refugee camps mainly in Bangladesh, but also scattered around that particular region. But I don't know of the Rohingya and their fight for their rights inside of their own country, inside of Burma. Is that a sort of fair reflection of events?
Of course, Rohingya, they fight for their cause. Rohingya has very brave people, very good people. They have a good leadership as well. And even they live in UK and then Europe and Western countries as well. And their activities are also very alive. And the actions, they do a lot of... But one thing is we need to understand that when a community who face systematic genocide, genocide doesn't mean one day, few days happen. It takes several decades. The policies built and all the hate speech and narrative were built several decades in order to execute their genocide.
To lay the foreground, to make people ready for this and to accept the crimes that are committed.
So that is, and also is a bureaucratic system exists in order to make sure the genocide happened. So that's how the military did this. So when genocide happened, their policies were exist and make sure that this community cannot survive any part of the world. That is how they've been oppressed. They have been traumatized. They've been, but it doesn't mean these peoples are not capable to fight back. Of course, they have very strong capability they have. But what they need is, they need some country stand behind them with committedly. Some country need to commit proper support for them.
But can I just say, I wouldn't want them to be forced or cornered to have to fight physically. I want them to campaign for their rights. I want them to demand...
To stand up on their own.
So that they are treated as human beings, that they are treated as equals within their own country.
That's what I mean.
They shouldn't need to expose themselves or their children to be killed or burned or such in order to gain those rights.
They shouldn't be forced into violence. So this is very important. When a country involved, that is the reason why I said a country or few country need to come together. And strategize how going to build Rohingya leadership and Rohingya youth to stand up for their rights and to fight for peacefully for their cause. We don't see this kind of support properly, but there are some support already, like US and UK and some European countries are doing this. And also OIC is also doing some good efforts as well. But there must be some united efforts that will make sure that the coming generations of Rohingya will not be left behind from education, from healthcare, from their, they should be part of the world.
Of course.
They shouldn't be left behind because of their, facing the genocide. And we should never allow the military, their strategy, because that's what they want. They want the military, this population will destroy it within. That's what they are creating a lot of.
Let me tell you about something that I confronted when trying to prepare for this podcast, for this program. I got in touch with a number of my friends and colleagues who live in various countries around the Muslim world. I'm not going to be more specific than that. They're in the Muslim world region. And I was extremely surprised that none of them wanted to appear either on the media or to have their names mentioned. And when, after asking the third, fourth, fifth person, I started saying, listen, I want to highlight this cause of yours. Why aren't you coming out? So they all said one thing, they all shared one thing, and they said, listen, because we have families. We have families back in Burma and they're still susceptible to being oppressed, killed, whatever. And we can't do that. We're too afraid for them. But then a couple of them mentioned something which is or was even more soul-destroying. He said one of our colleagues recently spoke publicly on some obscure media channel, and the Muslim government of that country, they arrested him and they sentenced him to 25 years in prison. This was only 2 days ago. I was astounded. I could, from the political point of view, understand why certain Muslim countries wouldn't vote at the UN Security Council against the military regime in Burma, because they're playing politics, because they think of China, because they think of Bangladesh, they think of, okay, so I understand that. But what I don't understand is a Muslim government sentencing a Rohingya commentator, not even activist, a commentator who went on a channel to speak about the plight of the Rohingya people, then detaining him and then sentencing him to 25 years in prison. That I can't understand. Can you?
It's really shocked me. But I understand this is a price we have to pay in this cause. Because, sometimes geopolitics is very tricky. We see that, for example, in Uyghur issues, you can see that.
Yeah.
We don't see much Muslim countries supporting them. But it's come to my mind that how far we need to rely other than yourself to other people for your own cause.
Yeah.
If I have to fight, I have to fight. I have no choice. We have millions of our Muslim brothers, sisters in Burma. One of my colleagues interviewed in the Rohingya camp. There was one lady. She was survived from the fire. The military was put into a house and they were gang rape her and throw her children into fire. And they also threw her into the fire. And some Rohingya brothers saved her. And see what is the price. Another person, the lady, she has to decide which one of her child should die. Because she cannot carry 3 children. She can carry only 2 children. And third one, she can't carry that. She let that child burn alive. And look at this, ask this mother, what else is the price she need to pay? And there is one brother who was a very rich guy in Rakhine State. He has cows and farms and a lot. He was, mashallah, Allah's giving barakah in Rakhine State. His father was killed and his 2 daughters was raped in front of him. And everything was destroyed. He's still surprised at why he's alive. He said, if it is not haram, he will commit suicide. He said, no reason I'm surviving. Every day is like, for me, is punishment. So, brother, this is a price we have to pay. I'm not considering that that's how we can, but it's not right with us. Recently, one of my colleague, he's a Rohingya. He said something in the media. Few days his brother was killed in Burma.
Yeah.
There are many incidents happen, but I'm sure we will not stop. People will pay the price.
Who are now supporting you in terms of countries, states? Who's supporting you?
One good thing is that even China is not opposing. Right? They understand that the Rohingya situation need to be sorted out. And people in Burma, especially Muslim communities, are not against China, not against anyone. All we are asking is just treat us like a human being.
Yeah.
That's all we are asking. We are not asking for separate state or separate country. All we are asking is give us human right. We are human beings. treat us equally. That's all we're asking. And that become crime for the military. But for the countries, we have, as far as I have reached out, for example, in UN Security Council, Russia and China always stand up with the military. They have their interests, they have their geopolitical interests, they have their economic interests with them. But my question is, what is the most important interest than the humanity?
Yeah.
When there is a genocide is happening,
Yeah.
denying is also a complicit.
Of course.
And that's what these big nations, you look at China, Russia, they were once victims of fascism.
Yeah.
We are now also victims of fascists. The fascist military itself. Russia, China, look at their history. They fought against, tooth and nails, sacrificed millions fighting against the fascism. And now they are supporting the very fascist army in Burma.
But part of the problem is, of course, that China has its own problems and violations of human rights against the Uyghurs and others, as well as in Russia, what the crimes committed in either Ukraine or in Syria or in elsewhere. And therefore, even if they were to stand by the Rohingya people, they would come under question, okay, so what about your own crimes? What about your own, if you're going to condemn? I mean, the thing is, it seems to me that part of the problem on an international stage is that most countries have their own human rights violations, have their own human crimes, war crimes and the such, so they can't afford to be questioned, and therefore they don't even bother to support or to condemn any particular crime being committed because they'll be asked about their own. So that, I believe, is definitely part of the problem. But my question, let me be more pointed. What about the Muslim and Arab countries, especially those with huge finances and wealth and money and the such? What kind of reception do you have? Does the Rohingya campaign has?
Rohingya campaign, in terms of Rohingya campaign, I'm not that sure how the Rohingya community have engaged with the Arab wall. But of course, there are some, for example, OIC countries are now supporting the ICJ case, which is very significant. And this is the one solidarity the OIC country has approved now, right? We stand up behind the Rohingya people. But my suggestion is, in Burma, it is not only Rohingya who are suffering. Rohingyas are the most persecuted population in the world.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean we close our eyes for other people.
Of course.
There are another 4-5 million Muslim populations still exist in Burma, still facing a lot of oppressions, still facing so many discriminations, persecutions. There isn't any engagement for that.
Yeah.
We are working, representing, and we are working so many fronts, working with the people inside the country and also at the exile. There are some unity has been built, but we try to approach to the OIC countries, OIC secretariats, but that is a long process for us to reach them out and to engage with them. So what we feel is the Muslim country need to open up more doors for us, to engage more with us. Because these are the, population in Burma, and they are the descendants of Arabs, Turkish,
Of course.
right? Persians and Indians, they are not strange. They are not strangers. So there must be some kind of engagement.
Yeah.
And that kind of some support should establish. Because what we're doing is we recognize by internationally. Our organization still exists operating inside the country. Still we collect a lot of data and evidence, and we do advocacy as well.
Yeah.
I frequently travel to Malaysia and Thailand, US, and in Europe as well. But we don't have much engagement with Arab world. So that's what we need to expand one day. But we tried. It doesn't mean we never tried. We always tried. We always been trying. We want to engage with everyone because our issues is compared to other Muslim issues that we are more acceptable than many other countries, than any other cause. right? So this is something easier for us to reach out.
What was the impact or effect of Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, of their reports on the status of the Rohingya and the military regime's violations of human rights in Burma?
There are lots of reports came out from the Human Rights Watch. I mean, they've been doing a lot of reports for Rohingya and other Muslim community as well, but from Amnesty as well, from Human Rights Watch. There are many other organizations we know which is also working in UK. There is a BC UK, Burma Campaign UK also. They do a lot of campaign about the Rohingya people as well. Internationally, Rohingya topic is very important. People take very seriously about that. But I don't see much in the Muslim world. In Muslim world, there are some civil society level is still there.
Yes.
But it doesn't reach to the government level, high levels. But we can also deny blatantly that, look, Rohingya were accepted by the OIC. Some Rohingya organization invited regularly to the OIC meetings. But what we are asking is, it is not enough.
Yeah.
Right? All the Muslims are suffering in Burma. You must open, you must listen. You need to give some channel these people. At least there's something they can complain to. In terms of Rohingya situations and also other Muslim situation in Burma, we need more countries come together and have some efforts to support these populations in order to survive in that fragile environment.
Yeah.
To continue, for example, the Burmese military is very cunning.
Yes.
So what they're doing right now is they are using drugs to destroy Muslim populations.
Yeah. It's a similar story in various places and regions, unfortunately, that in order to weaken, to disseminate, to render, almost neutralize a community, drugs is a very, very potent weapon. This is often employed. I want to talk about the future. I want to talk about what kind of hope there is. Fine, we want further support on an international level. As activists around the world, military regimes are bad for everyone. And they must come to an end. Democracy is very, very important. Human rights, very, very important. I have to say, I mean, your appeal to the Arab and Muslim world, whilst absolutely right, I have to say I don't harbor much hope, simply because there are so many violations within those countries, once again, that they are rendered useless. They have no position, they have no right almost to demand of Burma to end its human rights violations, simply because they could easily, the Burmese can turn back to those regimes and say, okay, what about yours? However, that appeal must remain, must continue. But we need to know more, and I'm talking here about myself, but I also think many of my listeners, they will also share my ignorance as to many facets of what's going on in Burma. I mean, the fact, for instance, that you clarified to me today that there are six different Muslim groups in Bangladesh, in Burma, sorry. I had no idea. I thought it was the Rohingya, and that was it. The manners of the suffering, the rendering of people without papers that they could prove who they are, who they came from, is something which is horrific.
And if you read our monthly reports, we publish 2 reports every month. Hate speech and the situation updates. There are some event last month we recorded. So being a Muslim, people don't rent their house. That's happened in central Rangoon.
Wow.
So being a Muslim, they don't rent your house. This happened. But not everywhere, but it happened some places.
These newsletters, who do you send them to?
We publish through our networks.
Right.
We share them all the social media. And
Do you write to governments? Do you write to members of parliaments? Do you write to the United Nations?
we share this report definitely to our contacts. Thousands of contacts we have in the media, in governments, and in civil societies.
Yeah.
We share them all this data and information. But also the commitment, from some governments, some powers. Without having this, it is very difficult to change the situation right now.
Yeah.
But look what Burmese people in Burma is determined to fighting back against the military, and they're doing their best. Of course, it takes some time. It will take maybe longer time than we expect, until some country will support the cause or take some side. But what shouldn't happen is what we are seeing every day by night, using fighter jets to bomb the civilians, using helicopter gunship to attack the villages.
Incredible.
This happening the whole country. When some country, look at comparing the Libya situation, when the Libya used some military jet to bomb the people, so NATO intervenes, right? Some big powers intervenes. But this happening every day in Burma.
And no one intervenes.
And no one even talk about this.
Yeah.
So this is the world we are living in, a very double standard.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.